waddle bottle. If I looked at the search term like women's pink rubber coated insulated water bottle, like that's my exact product. Now, the more specific you get to the product, the more specific the search is, the lower your search volume is going to be. So what we always look to do on product launches is like we try and find the intersection between good search volume, and good to us is like maybe even a couple thousand, depending on the budget, that also have really good relevancy to the product. Because what you're trying to do is you want to get in front of your exact shoppers. So example would be insulated water bottle is going to be really expensive and not super specific to my product. Like it's kind of specific, but not really specific. I'm trying to say like, okay, where can I start getting super specific to my product, but it's going to have enough search volume that I can get the sales volume that I need. So I would focus more on that versus that I would looking at only search volume. A bit of a technical answer here is we don't quote move them, meaning we're not going to pause the existing keywords. We're simply going to launch them in another match type. Again, make sure to keep the bids lower. Amazon actually, if you read their recommendations, they recommend keeping bids lower on broad and phrase match, even lower than the exact match. When we would launch those is honestly really dependent performance of the account and availability of the budget. So if you launch a keyword in exact phrase and broad, so you have 50 keywords, right? And you launch them in exact phrase and broad, you technically have, 150 keywords that you've launched. And the potential of broad and phrase to spend could be quite high. So again, you just want to make sure it makes sense. It seems super simplistic, but if you are in a phase where you're struggling to control total ACoS and ACoS, to fix those two numbers, it really means that you have to lower down your ad spend with ideally little to no impact of the total sales or the ad sales in the case of ACoS. If you introduce a whole, again, those 50 keywords in exact phrase and broad, and those you probably need to test and optimize the bids, etc., you're introducing a lot of additional ad spend into the account. So you do want to be aware of that and be careful with that. So that's kind of a benchmark that we use. But overall, I would say, I don't know if I would have like a certain time frame or a frame which I would hold back on. It really is dependent on the performance of the account. Another good question, which best bid strategy for phrase and exacts when you move? So again, we don't really move them. We would simply launch them in addition. We like to separate them by campaign as well. I think it gives us a little bit more control over, say, budgets for things. Now, as far as the bidding strategy, we're a super huge fan of using mainly dynamic down only. If it is a keyword that we want to ensure that we get impressions for, so for our launch keywords, for our main keywords, for anything we're trying to be aggressive with, we prefer a fixed bidding strategy. It's still going to be the same. It's still going to be pick highly relevant keywords. One other tip is pick keywords that fit within the budget of the account that you're launching. So for instance, if I have a couple $100 a day budget versus $50 a day budget, those launches are actually going to look a little bit different because I can't afford that many clicks on a $50 a day budget. Or if I had, a couple $100 or $1,000, I have a lot more room for clicks. So actually, you want budgets to play into your launch strategy. The other thing that you want to keep in mind, do not expect profitability on launch. This is a huge one. There's a lot of people that try and pull back and knee-jerk for profitability right out of the gate. That is not going to happen. The reason why it's not going to happen, and I'll tell you the numbers behind the numbers, is that ACoS is just going to be high on your product launches, and that is a function of two things. One, the aggressive cost per click you have to set to be able to get visibility in the beginning, and two, how low your product conversion rate is going to be, especially if you're launching without reviews. Those two things, once you start to be able to bring your cost per clicks down because you gain momentum or you're optimizing your bids, and then two, once your product conversion rate starts to increase because you're getting those reviews, maybe you're optimizing your listing a little bit more because you've learned more about your target market, that is going to help bring down your target ACoS. So those things, again, conversion rates are going to be low, high cost per clicks. That's actually like the nuts and bolts of why your ads are not profitable, and it's almost unreasonable to expect profitability in the beginning. And that's actually why, if you've ever had a product where you're like, no matter what I do, I cannot seem to bring the ACoS down, I'm struggling here, it's a function of that your conversion rate is remaining low and it's not improving, and your cost per clicks are remaining high and you're not able to improve them due to the market or something else. So again, I would still say pick highly relevant keywords, Also, make sure that whatever keywords that you have fits within your budget. Launch them. Aggressive, sponsored products, exact match, potentially sponsored branding video, exact match if you have the creative. Double down on that for a couple weeks and then start expanding from there. Hello, and welcome back to another Ask Junglr session. This is the place where you show up every single week, Thursdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and get the ability to ask me an Amazon ad question. I get some people DMing me randomly throughout the week, Amazon advertising questions, which sometimes I answer those, but these days I have much more limited time. So oftentimes what I've been doing is like, hey, show up to these Thursdays lives. I can give you a much better answer because I can be much more nuanced. I can also do screen share. So last week, there was a lot of questions that came up. I have a lot of resources and things that I have access to, like a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of forecasting spreadsheets. Everyone seems to want to know about forecasting. And so because this is a forum where I can also screen share, which is awesome, I've been like popping it open. Hey, let's look at search pages. Hey, let's look at this ad type. Let's look at how forecasting works. Let's play with some numbers. Let's play with some scenarios, which again, hopefully allows me to add as much value as I possibly can, because I know sometimes it can be very hard to try and go through all of the YouTube videos or all of the webinars and try and get that one gold nugget that's going to make a difference in your ad account. This is a forum. Come up, ask a specific question, and I will answer it for you. We'll do screen shares, we'll do walkthroughs. I'll make sure that you get a lot of value out of being able to come here and again, just asking your questions. So if this is your first time joining in, we welcome you. If you've been here returning, welcome as well. It looks like we have some new returners in the chat already, which is awesome. Ryan Kramer showing up. He's like, let's go, best time of the week. Absolutely, Ryan. Appreciate you showing up. Yeah, so if you don't know who I am, I'm going to do a quick intro of myself. I'll also talk about how you can get answers to your questions. I am the co-founder of an Amazon advertising agency called Junglr. I've been doing this as an agency about 6 or 7 years, even longer if you want to count additional experience in there, but even as an agency. So I have seen, every single scenario. And I've also seen how the ad platform has morphed and changed. It's going a million miles a minute, which is amazing. Looks like you have some questions even about day parting and stuff already in the chat. There's some options for you to run like limited day parting sets on your like current account. So I'm going to show you how to do that, because historically I would have said, hey, you probably need a software to run it. Amazon's rolling out their capabilities. You might be able to hack the system and do day parting. Like that's like a recent update we found as of like this morning. And I rolled it out to my team and I posted about it on LinkedIn. So yeah, if you show up to this this forum every single week, you're going to not only get better at running your ads, you're going to be able to stay cutting edge. So how does this work? Somebody's saying my audio. This thing always messes up my audio. Let me fix it. Thank you. All right. That should be much better. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. Yeah, the thing always wants to use my camera, not my mic. So form of this is use the chat on whatever platform you are listening in on. So we're live on LinkedIn, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube. Also give us, if I say anything good or say anything helpful, would totally appreciate a thumbs up or a like or a heart or whatever that looks like on the platform, because that pushes us out and then allows more people to get information. All right, Ryan's saying we're good on audio. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. All right, so with that, let's see. We already have one question. So let's dive in. We will answer this question. So questions on day parting and PPC. How can I determine the best times or days to increase or decrease my budget? And are there any tools and strategies to identify when my campaigns perform best? Yes, there are. So what you're going to be looking at is you want to go, now this is only available for sponsored product ads, but you can go and download a sponsored product campaign report. And when you select that report inside your ad console, you're going to see the ability to select a specific, like what time frame you want it for. So you could do, like weekly, or you could just do the whole time, or you can do hourly. So that is the only report that I am aware of that allows you to download hourly data, which is amazing. So then you can use that information to say when, what times of day work best, right? So a couple things you want to think about here is one, just the amount of data or statistical significance for things. In an ideal world, we would be identifying and doing hourly day parting like on a specific campaign level. The thing is, you want to be able to have enough data to make that decision. And most likely you're not going to have enough data on the campaign level. One, you want to select a longer date range. And then two, a lot of times you want to probably run a pivot table to see like average performance, probably by time of day, is what we found to be, it just gives you the most amount of data to analyze. So what you want to look at is, are there times of the day? We mainly look at things like conversion rates, and you can also look at things like cost per clicks. Now, when it comes to adjusting budgets, and then it's always nice to do an analysis, but whenever you do an analysis, you always want to walk away with some sort of action item, right? And I got an action item for you. So historically, there has been this thing inside of the ad console, which is called budget rules, which is amazing. So the way that this works is it allows you to increase your budget for specific time. So either you can do it on a specific date range. So an example would be, I want to increase my budgets for, say, Prime Day coming up. Another one, like we have some clients that do really well around Mother's Day. So maybe we want to set budget increase rules for that. You can also set budget increase rules for a specific KPI. So an example would be, well, as long as ROAS is above X, I'm okay with increasing my budgets. And this is something we tested, and actually it did very well. It performed very well. But the problem with this is that to go through and edit and really adjust these things, you had to go inside Campaign Manager, and it was in the campaign settings, which, as you can imagine, with the accounts that we run, with how many products they're running, we literally have thousands of campaigns. It is completely unscalable to go into thousands of campaigns and set these sort of granular rules, even if it technically makes sense. Because what happens is that things change over time, performance changes over time. Things that you previously had wanted to get more aggressive with, you probably want to go back and readjust. And so while we went through and we tested it, when this first came out, it was at least 2 years ago when it first rolled out in ad console. But then we went and we set up all these rules, and then we quickly realized, one, they're a pain to set up. Two, they are a pain to figure out where you actually have these rules applied in your account. And then three, it's a bit of a pain to manage. And so because that's just insanely unscalable, and really what you want to do is go through and like constantly be tweaking your account, we just didn't use them. As of probably starting this morning, we're going to go back into a retesting phase. So actually, I just posted about this on LinkedIn this morning. But if you are familiar with bulk files, or if you're familiar with my content, I really love bulk files. This allows you to use bulk files. It now has this budget rules data. So you can elect to include this option in your download, or you could only select this and then only the budget rules would be downloaded. And what happens is this gives you a tab with what budget rules are associated with which campaign. That in and of itself is just a really scalable way to look and see if there's something you need to make adjustments for. But it says you can analyze and you can make adjustments via bulk file. So we're still in a testing phase with this, because it literally came out like this morning or the last couple days, or popped up in one of our accounts so we could see it. But this is going to give you a scalable way. So the way that it works is you can actually set budget rules up to have increases to budgets during certain times of day. So you can have lower budgets, and then you could just say like, hey, I want to increase them during certain times. Again, after you've gone through and say, okay, which of my campaigns during what days actually makes sense for me to increase budget. So if you go through that campaign hourly data and like you don't have enough, you want to look for clicks. Like, do I have enough clicks to determine, well, this is a higher conversion rate or this is a lower conversion rate? If you don't have that data, then I would probably say that day parting is not, you don't have enough statistical data to really identify. You could still maybe potentially test it, but I'm always a fan of like, hey, when we have data, let's go with it. If you don't have data, you're just kind of flying blind and guessing is never a good idea, especially something with day parting. So historically, what I found in day parting is it can be a very powerful lever, but it's simply an additional like boost and optimization to something that's already running, is what we found. There are some accounts, especially when day parting like first came out and they started, like Amazon released hourly data. So we actually like had data to determine if it made sense for the account. There was a lot of accounts or a lot of brands that like they were really struggling on their ad performance, and they identified like, oh, day parting, it can save us money, right? So because we're struggling with our ad performance, and we're not really having our spend optimized, or the products, maybe poor product market fit or poor conversion rates or something like that, they were kind of looking towards day parting as like the holy grail, the silver bullet that was going to fix a crappy ad account. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not the case. Is that if you like, day parting will simply enhance or improve the ads that you're currently running. It's not going to be a silver bullet to like fix everything if it's not working, if that makes sense. But again, always based it on data. There's more like granular lifetime and like hourly reports you can pull if you have access to the API, but that requires API access, and that's a whole can of worms that I'm not sure about. Speaking of access to things, getting more access to stuff that was not previously available in the account. Have you seen the new beta path to purchase reports? It is crazy interesting. So we've been looking at these. These are the new top 5 conversion paths. It's pretty interesting because there's a lot of questions that sellers often have. Is like, okay, so if they click on my sponsored product ad and then they then convert from my sponsored display ads, like, where do I get a better, like, am I wasting money if they click on my sponsored product then click on my sponsored display ads? Well, actually, you can kind of look at this now. So there's this, you can look at the top conversion paths and you can rank them. You can rank them by sales or other things. The one I'm looking at is just ranked by sales. And what we can see is that by far the best path to purchase from us from advertising, no shocker, but is sponsored product ads. So you can actually see like which ad type, again, this is going to be aggregated by brand. So if you have more than one brand associated with your account, like we deal with some larger accounts and they have multiple brands underneath them. What you can actually do, let me see if I can share mine. No, this has a brand name on it, so I can't share it. But what you can actually do is like look at that brand and say, okay, so where are the majority of the sales coming from? Like, is it when I combine sponsored product ads? Is it when I have sponsored display ads? So I'm looking at this one right here. So the past sales, 58% of past sales are made by when they only click on our sponsored product ad. So that's doing really, really well. When they click on our sponsored product ad and then click on a sponsored brand ad, that one we still get sales, but we've noticed that that path to sales is not as high. So in those cases, maybe it doesn't make sense for us to go aggressively with our sponsored brand and our headline ads, because we're not noting that when we combine a sponsored product ad with a sponsored brand ad, that sort of increase isn't there. But you can also look at things like, conversion rates. Do I convert better when this happens. And you can like see sort of how your ads interact together. Now, the reason that Amazon puts out these kind of things is they want to demonstrate to you that like, hey, you should run all the ad types. You should run a full funnel strategy. You really need to make sure that you're maximizing everything in your account. And what they're looking to demonstrate is that it makes sense to have like more than one ad type running on things, right? For maximum coverage. But the good news is like this is completely unfiltered data, although that's what they're trying and hoping that advertisers will see in these reports. This is your actual data. So you can see like, again, how these ads interact. Before, this kind of data was only available via AMC. And to have that historically, you had to get access to, you had to be running DSP to get access to AMC, which again is another update. So we now have access to AMC for our non-DSP brands, which again allows us to have phenomenal, way more insights than just this. There's a ton of additional insights. All right. By the way, I've been talking for a while. Hopefully that's been valuable. Again, if anyone has any specific questions, or if you guys are, trying to figure something out, you're like, there's this, I can't figure out how to lower ACoS for the specific product, or, I'm struggling to find something. Again, drop whatever advertising questions you have into the chat. I got some resources and things, so we'll pull it up. We can do screen share if we need to, and we'll make sure that you'll get your products seen and sold. All right, for new products that hadn't been sold on Amazon before, what's the best way to structure campaigns and choose keywords to ensure a strong start? Question on this. So when you say products that hasn't sold on Amazon before, is it a new to Amazon product? Meaning this product does not exist on? Let me clarify that. It depends. If by asking this question, you're meaning this product, their type of product is not sold on Amazon right now, then that answer to the question will be a little bit different. Or is it just that this is a new product and we haven't sold before, but there's other products like it? So what I will say is that historically, Amazon is a pretty poor like consumer education platform. Now, what you can definitely do if this is a product that is not, it doesn't really sell already, so there's no like products like it on Amazon, then oftentimes running like off-platform ads or, like Meta ads, TikTok ads, other things to drive shoppers to the platform is going to be the best way to grow sales. So let me kind of show my screen here. Wait, I stopped sharing. I need to pull it up because I want to show you, like, let's walk through what customers, like how customers find products. So what most shoppers do, there's some people who talk about like, shoppers go to browse. They don't really go to browse, they go to buy, which is why conversion rates are so great on Amazon, is because it's a very like conversion and intentional platform. What happens is if I go here and I want to get a baby blanket, I'm going to go search this and I'm going to be shown with a ton of options. So you're going to see like a whole bunch of stuff pop up here. And what happens is, like, if you don't have a specific search, like if shoppers aren't already looking for products like yours, what we often find is that it's just really hard to get those products. So an example would be like, say there wasn't any search volume or nobody was looking for baby blankets on Amazon. That's not true. There's a lot of people looking for baby blankets on Amazon. But if there wasn't, I would kind of have to see, can I go at this shopper? Can I find them in a different way? Again, we're just talking Amazon advertising. That's why it's best to do like off-platform traffic if it doesn't currently exist. If shopper demand doesn't currently exist on the platform. So I would say like, okay, is it like baby shower items or is there, and I know this because I've advertised for these products before and it's inherently very, very difficult. So you have to kind of broaden your reach and say, is there anywhere that's sort of kind of like ish my product and that I can sort of get in front of those shoppers and hope that they're interested in my product enough. I got approached by a brand like a while back and he had gotten a patent. And it was like a very unique item. It was like a interesting new take on a shower curtain. And he was, which does exist on the platform, but he was trying to sell like a plastic shower curtain that was like 4 times the price of anything existing on the market. And so the reason why it was 4 times the price was it has this very unique and like patented feature. And it was really hard to demonstrate through a main image that it had a unique feature, because the way that the feature sort of showed in the image was it just kind of looked like a different pattern on the shower curtain. It didn't make you go, oh, wow, that's new. And so my advice to him was like, hey, this is like, we can try, and we didn't end up going forward, but I was like, my recommendation is either drive off platform traffic or maybe test some minimal advertising. But my guess is because it's really hard to demonstrate the uniqueness of this product. Like if you have a premium product that's over, priced over what the typical market is priced at, you need a way to quickly demonstrate to shoppers of why this is the premium product and why they should care. If you can't easily demonstrate that on a listing, that can be quite difficult. And so for that reason, let's see. All right, so they were selling a product that's already on Amazon. We recently modified it and innovating new features. What's the best way to structure PPC campaigns to highlight? You just want to figure out where shoppers are looking for those features. That's really the goal. So the goal in Amazon advertising is to get in front of the shoppers who are most likely to convert. So when you're talking about getting the biggest bang for your buck immediately, that's your goal. So my question is going to be, okay, so here we have baby blanket. There's a lot of different items here. Like we have the fleece one, we have swaddle blankets, we have this kind of blanket, the fleece one. So if we were a monogram fleece blanket, see if we can find that one in search. I would just say, how do you spell monogram? Let's just say baby name blanket. All right, baby blanket name, personalized. There's other one, custom name, baby blanket name's girl. But see how the search volume isn't all that great on this. So my goal with this is to say, okay, so baby blanket name, let's see, baby blanket name personalized. This one's going up. It's only 72 search volume. So I want to know where does that intersection happen between where my products are searched for and found. And then you can also, if your product's priced a little bit higher, you can use Search Query Performance Report is going to tell you the average price point of products that are purchased underneath that search query. So you can see like where the premium shopper is looking for stuff. I believe Product Opportunity Explorer also shows the average price point on specific searches, which again allows you to sort of identify where that premium price shopper is looking for, and then you can target them via specific keyword targeting. If that makes sense. All right. So it says, happy to be here every week. We are happy to have you. Hey, Elizabeth, when harvesting keywords from search engine reports, do we put converting targets into broad, phase, and exact? I would recommend that is what we do. Also, I would not go through and add negatives in the existing campaigns. It's okay to have the search terms triggering through the other campaigns. You shouldn't have a problem with that. But yes, it also depends on the budget. So an example would be like if we're already struggling for ACoS on this, you want to be careful with how many more new campaigns you're adding, because that's simply going to add to the ad spend. So this was something like we were in a team call and we were talking about some tests we were going to run. And one of our account managers was like, yeah, I'm going to wait a week or two to run those tests because I know that's going to require testing budgets. And I'm not 100% sure, the performance of that because we wanted to test some like new strategies that we'd identified through other team members, and we're now like rolling it out across other accounts and managers. And then we were talking about it, and her feedback was like, hey, I'm okay right now, like I'm hitting target total like ACOS and total ACOS, but I want to stabilize this for another week or two so I can make sure that I'm not going to hurt performance because I'm launching a bunch of test stuff. And I was like, that's great. You're thinking about the analysis. So you also want to think about when you're launching campaigns, not just, oh, I should be launching new search term report keywords. You also want to look at the entire performance of the overall account and see, like, does it make sense right now to add this additional ad spend into the account? So I would also factor that in when you're determining like how many new campaigns you're going to launch. All right. I wanted to share your opinion on AI-powered PPC bid optimization tools that optimize bids on an hourly basis. Is there any ready for mainstream use? If no, what is missing? So there's a ton of tools that use AI to optimize bids. I think they're crap. I'll say that. I know there's some amazing people in the space who are working on AI optimization features, and they will all tell you how fantastic the AI is and how it can make the best decisions for you because it can look at way more data points than you can. So for large data sets, yes. AI is amazing at like analyzing very large complex data sets that you would not be able to analyze without the use of AI. A classic example of this would be Brian Johnson, who's now moved on from Canopy Management, and he's doing something that's called Deep M. And they're literally scraping, oh gosh, there's probably millions of data points to identify how to improve product ranking, like on specific keywords. Like they're doing some amazing stuff that requires like a lot of data crunching that would not be possible. You can't do that in a spreadsheet. That is a fantastic use of AI processing power of like a very complex topic. Bids are not that complex. It is complicated, but they're not so complicated that you can't just do it from a typical like algorithmic. The other downside to AI is when AI makes a decision, it's really hard to trace back the logic tree when something goes wrong. So with a like algorithm, if it's just a bunch of if statements, really, it's a bunch of if then statements. And so you're saying, okay, if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this, right? And so if a bid happens to be optimized in a way that as an account manager doesn't make logical sense, I can trace back that decision tree and say, oh, this is where that decision went wrong. I need to change the inputs to the system because I know that this is in this specific scenario, that is where this logic fails. And you can use that feedback loop. I know because I did it for we've been perfecting our bid algorithms over the last like 6 years. And that's it. It's like in this scenario, this is what we need to happen. So we need to have multiple feedback loops. One, just in the system itself. And then two, we need to have the account managers have the option to put inputs into the system to also have, so you have your controls and then you have the underlying algorithm. Both of those can be improved by back tracing the decision tree. You can't do that with AI. And so for all those reasons, honestly, I don't know why, but in our industry, I'm getting on a soapbox here, but it seems to me like a lot of like platforms or software are continuously trying to use AI to make optimization decisions that can be better made algorithmically when there is a whole host of very complex data analysis that AI would be so much better at. And yet like the analytics and stuff, and like they completely ignore those. So just go find an algorithm that works for you. Honestly, I wouldn't touch AI for bids with a 10-foot pole. I might eat my words in, who knows, 6 months or something when someone comes out with something cool, but no. I'm getting pretty. I'll keep standing on my soapbox there for now. How do you go about analysis, repeat purchase, and subscribe and save data? Where can I find this data? Ooh, there was a fantastic new report inside of brand analytics. I honestly need to get a test account because I would love to like share. Okay, go into the ad console, go to brands, go to brand analytics. And then your other question is probably going to be, okay, so now that I know where it is, like, what do I actually do with this information? So how we have been using in this information is you can go into brand analytics and you can look at your repeat purchase behavior. So there's a couple questions I want to know about my repeat purchases. One, just is there repeat purchases in the account? Do people get repeat purchases? If they do, fantastic. Then we can look into retargeting ads. If they don't, then we know that there's probably going to be minimal impact if we run purchases remarketing ads inside of sponsored display ads. But if I have a really high repeat purchase rate, well, then it makes sense. There's a whole dashboard here. You can look at the other thing that is fantastic in this dashboard is to look at the repeat purchase intervals. Meaning, okay, so if I get repeat purchases, how, like, within what date range do shoppers typically come back and repurchase from me? And so we use this analysis in one of the accounts, and it was like, well, actually, the prior agency had flagged that they wanted to start with more sponsored display ads, but they were saying, oh, we need to test longer look back windows. So they were already testing a 30 days and it was getting a really good performance, very little ad spend. So that needed to be scaled up. But they were like, oh, we need to test 90 days, like farther out, right? Well, we went and looked at the dashboard and we're like, so actually, if you look at the data, your repeat purchase window is like 8 days. So therefore, it makes sense for us to run and test sponsored display ads with a very short look back window, because that's what the data is telling us makes sense. So that's what I would look at. And then subscribe and save data. I'm trying to remember if they have that in brand analytics or not. I'm not 100% sure. We use a software called KPOC that allows us to see subscribe and save. So for us, that's the most scalable way to do it. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure where that's located in the account. All right. If we have one campaign with multiple ad groups, each advertising a different ASIN targeting the same keyword, will they compete? So they do not compete in the bid auction, meaning the bid auction is a second priced auction. So if I go in with a bid of 50 cents and I also go in a bid with 55 cents, the auction, what you do is you pay okay, this is complicated. Okay. 50 cents, 55 cents. You pay 1 cent lower than the next highest bid in the ad auction. So say you entered into ad auction and your 50-cent bid won the click and you had like a dynamic. You're not going to drive your bid up to like 56 cents because you had another bid in the auction of 55 cents. So it doesn't work like that. Like Amazon won't make you say like, oh, you're willing to pay 55 cents over here, so I'm going to like take your money, or I'm going to drive up this bid. That's not how that works. But what may happen if these are on the same listing is you can compete for impressions. Because if you think about it, like there's only so many ad spots available on the page. And so if this ad wins this spot and gets these impressions, and the other ad wins like a spot on page 3 and gets those impressions, and then it kind of flip-flops, that's where you might run into some quote competition, but you're not going to be competing in terms of like your ad spend, if that makes sense. Also, I don't recommend running multiple ad groups, to be honest. I would prefer to run them in individual campaigns, is what we've seen work best. All right, we got some tactics here. All right, outdoor tactical bags category. ACOS is 44.71%. Ad spend is 1,000 and change. Ad sales is 26,000 exposure clicks. Please give it. Wait, hold on. How much ads Are you spending, it's hard to see because it's typed out. 1, 2, 3. So you're spending $11,000 to make $26. Ad sales, exposure, clicks, please give advice. So my advice is going to change based on what you're trying to achieve. So are you trying to get ACoS down? Are you trying to get ad sales up? And are you happy with the ad sales the way that they are, the total sales the way that they are? Because it looks to me, let's see the math here. Let's see if we can do some math. Clicks, you get 30 clicks, 3449. And then I'm trying to get exposure. I'm assuming that's impressions. 26, 5, 3, 5, 7, 5. I told you I was going to get tactical here, so I guess I'm going to be eating my words, because somebody's making me do math on the fly. All right. It's the number of clicks and the number of sales. Oops. All right. So in this case, it looks like your spend divided by clicks. You're paying about 39 cents a click, which, to be honest, is pretty solid in terms of advertising. I don't think I would be very mad at that. And I don't know how many orders you're making. So my other question would be, okay, so I'm just going to tell you how I would look at it. I would want to know what's my ad conversion rate and what's the unit session percentage of the product. If the ad conversion rate is less than the unit session percentage of the product, I would look at what I'm targeting for advertising and make sure that it's things that are converting very well. What I've found is that, typically speaking, if your ad conversion rate is lower than your unit session percentage, then you are typically going after keywords that you don't have a strong enough conversion rate to rank on. Just been my observation. And then the other thing that I would want to look at is the total ACoS. So that's going to be your ad spend divided by your total sales. And then I would say, is this profitable enough? Am I happy enough with this profitability? Because if you are happy enough with the profitability, then you might be fine. So this is an equation that I built out here. So your profitability, meaning your total ACoS, is a function of two things: your organic ranking and how your ACoS is, or your ad efficiency. So if I had an ad sale percentage, meaning about 45 to 50% of my total sales are coming from ads, it's probably about average. Then to improve this total ACoS number, you really have to see if you can lower down your average CPC from an ACoS perspective. But if this ad sale percentage was, like, say, really high, meaning, all right, let's see, I've had like 70% ad sale percentage, well, then my total ACoS is going to be like 17%, which is probably too high for a lot of folks. So then I might say, okay, I need to see if I can push up my ACoS to see if I can drive down my ad sale percentage. And then that's actually overall, even though my ACoS went up, I improved my profitability. I went down to 16% because I was able to meter those two things. So really effective advertising is looking at those two things: your ad profitability and how that's leading into market share growth, and making sure that those two things are in balance. Because when they're in balance and you're adjusting them correctly, then the account's getting more profitable. So your ad cost of total sales is going down, and then your sales are growing, which ultimately what you want to lead is to bigger profit dollars. So that's how I would look at it. I know that wasn't a specific answer, but hopefully that was helpful. All right, hey, just joined, but how do you structure campaigns for variations or super similar products? Best practice: put ASIN in one, or create ad groups with the same keywords, or separate campaigns with the same keywords. Good question, Lewis. And I appreciate you joining, and thanks for the question. So the way that we structure it is, actually, I have a presentation. Let me pull it up. I want to do more screen share. Let's do a screen share on the page, and then I'm going to do a screen share on the presentation that I have that will probably. So the thing with variations, I don't know if you saw the heard my last answer when they were talking about like driving up your cost in the ad auction. So technically you can only get one ad spot per ad type and one organic position per listing or like parent ASIN. So what you're going to be faced with, Lewis, is for an example, in the search grid, say you had the listing, you would only get one of these spots. So this is an ad spot, and you would get one of the organics. And then when I say by ad type, see this trending now, this is technically a different placement. So you could get one of these. Then you could get the video ad. And then you could get, say, a headline ad. So there's a couple of placements you can have, but you couldn't have two of your variations show up in like, say, two of these search spots. So you wouldn't have like one variation showing here and one variation show here, because this is like the same ad type. They're entered into the same, when it's entered into the same ad auction for the same placement, only one of your variations is going to win. So because of that, and because of only one variation is going to win, and also historically, I know a lot of people ask, like, does Amazon does the ad algorithm always pick the best variation for that search? So for example, if I had like a baby girl blanket, is it always going to show the girl variation? And what I'm here to tell you is like, it doesn't. It's actually really historically crappy. It typically just doubles down on whatever product is getting the most clicks or the highest click-through rate or the highest like order volume is what it just doubles down on those, regardless if it actually makes sense for the search. So here's the way that we would build it. And I have to find my presentation. I'll pull that up for you. So for that reason, and because you're not going to compete against yourself in that you're going to drive up your own costs. So it doesn't compete for the ad spend, but it will compete for impressions, because again, only one of those is going to win. So what happens is when you have those split out across, say, 10 different variations, and what you're trying to figure out in the beginning is which of these products, like which one works best. So what's going to happen is you're going to get like one click here on this campaign, and then you're going to get one click here on this campaign, and then you'll get some impressions over here, and maybe you push up these bids because you're like, this product's not getting impressions, but this product is getting impressions. And like, you can see how that starts to get really, really messy really fast. And the reason why that's happening is not because your bids aren't as competitive as they need to be, or it might not be because you didn't pick the right keywords. It's just a function of how Amazon grants impressions to variation listings. And so there's pros and cons of grouping them or splitting them out. But what we've found is that when you group them in the same ad group, and if they're all targeting the same keywords, I'm expecting like this is a launch and we don't know which ones perform best. So in that case, what we recommend doing is putting them all in the same ad group and then with the same keywords. And then you can start to see, okay, so this is where the clicks are happening. Oh, I've gotten a ton of clicks on this variation and it doesn't really convert well. And you can start to see the aggregate. It's not perfect. We actually are able to get better like granular data from AMC. All right, here we go. Found it. So this is how we handle product variation. So if it's a single ASIN variation, this is specifically for launch strategy. We would just put all, you only have one ASIN, so you don't have to make a decision. For variation listings, if there no performance data exists, we would include all the child ASINs into the campaign. If performance data exists, so say this is sort of like a relaunch scenario, or you're just kind of trying to restructure stuff, what you want to do is figure out which variation has the highest conversion rate or the highest like volumes. And then that is the one that you want to put, again, because Amazon doesn't make a great decision. So we kind of make the decision for it. It's like, you'll see those campaigns where you're like, this one product is getting like 60, 100 clicks and 0 orders. And like Amazon's still driving ad spend to it. So for that reason, we would want to just go through and like only advertise the best performers when we know which ones are. There is an exception to that rule which is for variation specific keywords. So how I was just talking about like baby girl blanket and how Amazon might even show like a baby boy blanket there, even though that search is very variation specific, it just kind of doubles down on bestsellers. So what we do in those cases is whenever you have a variation specific keyword, so an example here in this scenario is like blue swaddle blanket, we will only advertise the relevant variation, and that includes if we have data or if we have no data, because you can also make the connection between like which variation fits. Again, that's only for the descriptive. But if we had something like, say, swaddle blanket, we would advertise the best sellers. If we have data, if we don't, we group them. And then the other scenario would be if it's very specific to a one of your variations, then you would want to make sure you only advertise the one that makes sense to show up on that search page. So hopefully that was helpful. But if you have any further questions, I know variations are like, they can feel kind of complex. Amazon's recently released AMC, which we got access to for our non-DSP brands. They actually have some product. You know how when you group variations into an ad group, you don't know which keyword is converting best for which variation? Which is really dumb because like actually if you go into Walmart ads, like Walmart will tell you like which specific product in the ad group is working for that specific search term. You can't find it out inside of Ad Console or any of the reporting, but you can get that information if you have AMC data, which as of right now, AMC for non-DSP brands, the only way to get access to that is through an agency that is part of the advertising partner network, which we are, which is how we're able to get access to it. So we're now slowly starting to test certain things for our brands and just kind of see what's best to pull that information. All right, Ashley wants to know, what is the best practice for advertising very expensive products? And she says very, so I'm assuming it's very expensive products. Okay. A couple ways. So one, when you're going about your keyword selection, you want to look at the price of the products that are ranked high on that search page. If you see any higher priced items, now typically the higher priced items are not going to be at the top of the page, and that's fine. Oftentimes but if there is any higher priced items that are ranked anywhere on that search page, then that's probably a good keyword to go after. You can also use things that looks, you can also use search query performance reports to get a report that will show you like the average purchase price for a specific search term. Or I do believe that the product opportunity explorer inside of Amazon also shows product price on, they call it like niche keywords. I think I'm trying to remember the naming on it, but those two places should help you for keyword research purposes, or just kind of taking a look at the search pages and seeing like, all right, what can I see here? Some certain spaces, it's very few and far between. You may find that they'll say like, you know, maybe they'll search for like a different, like a thicker, you know, some products they want like thicker materials or more premium. They don't always search there, but that can be helpful. The other thing that is interesting is oftentimes if you search for like giftable keywords, it depends. I don't know what the product is. Some products that are higher price fit into the more gifting category, and oftentimes we will want to purchase a higher price product or a more premium product. So like for us, we're like, whatever, just give me the crappy one. It's got to work. But if you're going to give something as a gift, we don't typically like to give like really terrible gifts. And so you can kind of use gifting keywords. Sometimes you got to test it. And then in terms of the optimization or advertising, typically speaking, your higher priced items are just going to have a much lower conversion rate. So it's very common to see higher priced items have like a 1 to 2% conversion rate. We've seen this in like advertising for like really nice like luxury leather goods. Those ones had, it was like a 1% conversion rate, which can mean that you need a lot of clicks to help make a determination on it. So you want to look at longer date ranges. So what you'll see, especially with high priced items, is you'll go into your ad console and like one day ACoS is 2% because you made a couple sales. And then the next day ACoS is like 200%, and then it's 20%, and then it's 500%. And it's just like all over the place. And so you're like, so you got to look at the averages here, because days, like daily, it's probably going to look terrible. It's going to fluctuate like crazy. So you want to look at longer look back windows. So typically when we're doing ad optimizations, like we'll look at last 7 to 14 days because we want to know what's happening right now. And then we'll check longer date ranges just to make sure we're not like over optimizing or like being more careful of those things. But when it comes to higher priced items, you want to look at that like last 30 days or so, because you have to smooth out the bumps, because it's going to be really hard to optimize on shorter date ranges. How does Rufus help in terms of advertising? Thank you. There is advertising in Rufus through sponsored product ads, but there is absolutely no way to intentionally target it, and there's no way to actually pull a report to see where that is. So for right now, we're kind of flying blind. There really isn't any way to optimize for Rufus right now because we don't really have any data. Now, there are a lot of people putting out some fantastic information on how to optimize your listings to help with Rufus and AI analysis, the AI sort of scraping that Amazon is doing of listings right now. I would definitely follow smarter minds than me there, because I'm not a listing optimization specialist. But I would say right now, in terms of optimizing for Rufus, there's a lot more data out there about the listing optimization part and virtually none about the advertising. If you look at it, like Amazon had a pop-up in their ad console a little while ago that was like, oh, advertising is available in Rufus and we're already running it, but like there's no report we can pull to even see like what the placements or volumes or anything is on there. And we also, when they announced that, we didn't see any significant jumps or spend or anything crazy for the ads. So my guess is that those placements are super minimal right now, which is great, because if there's no way to turn it off or optimize for it, then like I'd prefer them not spend a lot of my money without me being able to control it. So as of right now, nothing really for ads. Can you talk a little about sponsored display ads, sponsored brand ads, and use cases for each, please? I'll do my best. So sponsored brand ads, video ads work best. Video ads have the highest conversion rates, and we found that it's best if you direct them specifically to a store or to the listing instead of going to a store page with video ads. If you have a really good product grouping and if you have a good store page or sub page, then you can direct the shoppers to that sub page. Here, you want to make sure, again, the advertising is still very keyword based and search based. So you want to make sure that whatever products you're curating aren't like it's not going to work best if you're like, oh, I have a kitchen. So example would be, I have a kitchen brand and I have a metal spoon, I have a blender, and I have a juice squeezer, right? Well, maybe my blender does really good on, top high powered blender or some kind of search like that. But like, I wouldn't want to run a brand ad with all of those products to like a random landing, store page that had like all of my products, because a shopper, if you think about it from a shopper intent perspective, they're trying to go in and be like, all right, I want a blender. Why are they showing me a spoon? Like, that's totally random, right? But it might be like premium kitchen items. If I have premium kitchen items, and those all fit the description. So the headline ads are more complicated, not because they're hard to set up. To be honest, they're quite easy to set up. They are complicated because they have a longer and more complex path to purchase, and there's more things that go into them because there's more products that are shown. So really what you want to think about it is from a consumer journey. Now, in terms of the sponsored display ads, I'm going to show you the easiest place to start is typically going to be product targeting. Or again, if you go and look at your brand analytics on your repeat purchase and you see that you have a really high repeat purchase rate, then that's a good indicator that your that sponsored display remarketing is going to work really well for you. and it looks like you were watching on YouTube, I would recommend this. Is we didn't release this that long ago. I would go through and watch this step-by-step sponsor display setup because I drop a whole bunch of gold nuggets in there. I do go through how to launch product targeting ads specifically, but I go through some stuff to avoid, the things to uncheck, what not to check, all that good stuff. For anyone watching on any other platforms, I will drop this into the chat so you guys can check it out. But if you want to learn about sponsor display ads, that's going to be your best way to get up to speed super, super fast. All right. One more question and 5 more minutes. So let's go with this one. All right. I know it's also complicated, but I also have like 3 to 5 different products, but they're exactly the same and are using the exact same keywords. Should I create different campaigns with the same keywords? My answer, Lewis, would be it depends if they are on, when you say different products, I'm assuming you're talking they're on different listings. If the answer to that is yes, there are on separate listings, then yes, I would absolutely create different campaigns for them. And if they logically share the same keywords, then yes, I would put against the same keywords. So I would advertise against the same keywords. And then all you're going to do is you're going to adjust, because if it only has that specific product with those keywords, and then you do like your bid optimizations, your budget optimizations, and all of those optimizations are going to be based on the individual data of that campaign, which the individual data of the campaign is going to be for that specific product in relation to like those exact keywords that you're advertising. So if you just optimize based on the individual performance of the campaign, say this product gets higher conversion rates for this keyword and lower conversion rates for this keyword. If you don't have to overthink it. You can just naturally optimize for the performance of each individual campaign and product. And then that will naturally lead you to pushing up the products that are working the best for that specific keyword, or turning down the bids for the product that doesn't work as well for the keyword. So you're going to naturally, you could like try and get super complicated with it. We're like, oh, which keyword is working for which product? But again, if you just naturally optimize in a way based on performance, you're going to naturally get to the same place of the products that are strong on those specific keywords, you're going to go more aggressive for, and the products that are less strong for those keywords, you're going to naturally be less aggressive for. So you should be good to go on that. Hopefully that was helpful. And hopefully that answered your question. And with that, we are pretty much out of time, and I am about out on my voice, so this is good timing. But as always, I really, really appreciate everybody joining in. If you have any further questions, definitely recommend showing up same time, same place next week. And if anyone is still struggling to figure out their own advertising and you really would like a second look on it, we offer free ad audits for any brands that we think it makes sense to partner with. So if that is you and you're waiting to see what's up, you're not ready to make the jump, but you want to know what you're missing in your ads, feel free to reach out via our website, which is Junglr, JUNGLR.com. on the screen behind me. And with that, I really appreciate everybody joining. It has been fabulous. Feel free to give us a like and a comment, and show up again, same time, same place next week, and we'll get more Amazon ad advice so you guys can help improve and grow your sales without having to sacrifice margins. And that wraps up this episode of the Ask Junglr Amazon Advertising Podcast. I hope you found these insights and strategies helpful in your Amazon PPC journey. Remember, if you have a burning Amazon ad question that you'd like answers to, head over to junglr.com/live to join our next live Q&A session. Until next time, keep optimizing those ads and stay hungry.